Hey guys, um, so before I begin, I just want to apologize. This video is very overdue. Had to give back my school laptop, and I just got a new phone, so I've been all over the place. But this is the first poem. Kind of, it's more like a story that I promised you guys. It's about 3 pages long. I hope you guys enjoy it. And, you're probably thinking right now, she's very unorganized. And you are correct. But I hope you guys enjoy. And I worked really hard on this, so please keep all negative comments inward. But this is Dreams, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And here I go. She made her way to her mother's house and thought about all of the possible scenarios that could have occurred upon entry. She prayed her mother would greet her with open arms, but knew that was an unlikely scenario. She hurt her mother and knew that the wound she left would never heal. Her mother could shut the door in her face and not allow her to enter, never speak a word to her, and forget she was her daughter as a whole. But still, she charged through the door like a stampede of horses and rang the doorbell frantically. Her mother opened the door with a smile, but it quickly vanished as she looked at the child who betrayed her. Her mother's face began to stiffen, and she opened her mouth to speak, but paused before finally saying, "You shouldn't have come here, dear. I told you weren't going to be welcomed here." But she did not leave after speaking these words, which hit her daughter like knives in her chest, but stood there, stared, and then moved to the side. Her daughter walked inside, attempted to give her mother a warm embrace, but quickly changed her positions and gave her now 5-year-old sister a hug. The house seemed almost fake, but she realized it was probably because she hadn't been home for almost 2 years now. She went to find her father in the kitchen, but once she entered, she felt a invisible force in her side, and she couldn't move. Paralyzed in place, her mother turned to her, blood on her hands, and quietly walked out of the room. She looked down at her and saw that there was a piece of wood, possibly a knife, lodged in her side. She fell to the floor and felt the blood pouring out of her. As she lay there, dying, helpless, afraid, no one around her but the cool draft kissing her honey-toned skin, she couldn't help but reminisce on the life she had once had and took for granted. The hot meal she had at supper time with her family, her mother's glowing face, and her father's crystal blue eyes. Her siblings' plump little cheeks, only fresh from the oven of her mother's stomach. The taste of the delicious meal she once hated eating but now longs for and wishes she could go back in time and savor every bite. The sound of her mother's angelic voice singing her lullabies at the dinner table, calming not only her new baby sister, but her as well. She thinks about the way the knife felt against her rear. It's impossible to forget such beautiful memories when all you know is gone and you're the one to blame for it all. You shouldn't have come here, dear. I told you weren't going to be welcomed. The words her mother spoke when she entered the house almost tore her to pieces, but it's all she could think about at a time like this. Lying on the hard, cold, tainted kitchen floor, knife sticking out of her side, blood rushing out of her as if it was never supposed to be in her body in the first place. She just wanted to belong once again. She missed the warm embrace of her mother and the way her father's scent always filled the room. The cooing of her baby sister in her playpen and the music. Oh, how she missed the music. The more she tried to stand, the deeper the knife impaled her. She wasn't going to let the floor detain her from reaching her freedom, but she couldn't figure a way to stand up and get out of that hellhole she was finding herself in. The room began to spin, and she wanted to stop time, but she knew hers was running out. The blood now spread across the floor, enough to fill a kiddie pool. To think, she had just gotten released from the hospital and was ready to go home, but now she wishes she was back. She tried to cry out, but what felt like a scream came out only a whisper. The blood finally losing its color, the kitchen table becoming blurry and disfigured, the room surrounding her becoming white, and she just wishes there was more she could do. All too late to say goodbye to the sister she had met one day and lost the next. If this is what death felt like, I would have never tried to end my life. I would have stayed. I would have held on, she thought to herself. She finally lost all consciousness and disappeared from the kitchen floor and entered another familiar-looking room. She opened her eyes wide and looked around her while her eyes were still focused. She felt something soft against her skin. A blanket? She looked forward and saw a wooden door, open, and to her right, a cubby filled with books and notebook paper. She also found a small teddy bear on the floor and a note from Mom. She stood up and realized her side was no longer impaled nor scarred. As she made her way out of the room, she looked to find her mother, but realized she wasn't home. She was in the hospital. Still. It was all a dream. I dreamt it all. She began to remember why. She had attempted to commit suicide with the box cutter in her father's toolbox and was caught in the kitchen. She was lying on the floor, passed out from all of the blood loss, and her little sister sitting by her side, trying to wake her up to play. She remembers beginning to lose all feeling in her arm and smiling, for she had succeeded, although she thought she did. Her father admitted her, and her sister was brought to her mother, who refused to come to the hospital to see her oldest daughter, who attempted to take the life she gave to her. It all made sense now. She missed the old days, the way her mother would brush her hair and sing to her before bed. Now, she just longs for the day to be released, to be able to apologize to her mother for all the pain she brought, but her mother told her not to return to her house. She wasn't welcomed anymore. So she just went back to sleep and forgot about all of the pain she brought to her family. She didn't succeed in ending her life, but she lost the life she knew. Forever. And that was Dreams. So I hope you guys enjoyed. There is a message in it, but that's for you guys to decipher, I guess. This is not a true story. This is not like me reminiscing about me going to the hospital. No, this is me sitting in math class, bored out of my mind and writing. But there is an underlying message, but again, that's however you interpret it. But I hope you guys can take it and actually learn something real from it. I also hope you guys enjoyed, and I will be posting soon for any other of my poems. This one's more like a story, but this is the longest one I have, I promise. For my next video, I'm going to ask you guys, do you guys want me to do a love poem, another, sad poem, or do you want me to do like a real life scenario poem? Yeah. Or do you guys just not care? Just comment down below, let me know. Give it a like, please. And, share with your friends. I know I'm annoying, I talk a lot, so I'm gonna stop the video now. But bye, guys.